Ron's got a shout, everybody. He's got his hat on inside the RSA.
Take a seat, everybody.
Ron and Joan Boggiss, with the warmest welcome to you both. The surprise event is to acknowledge the tremendous contribution you both have made to so many organisations, institutions, clubs and our communities. You have both changed people's lives and connected to so many different societies and causes. Ron and Joan, your dedication, contribution and commitment to our communities is reflected in the crowd of people that are here today to honour you. And no doubt, many we either didn't reach or didn't know about. There are apologies from Isabel Mitchell, John Laker, Father Lawrenson, Jackie Hardy, Mary Parkinson, Paul and Cheryl Graham, Garth Boggiss and Bobby Gillespie. The following lineup of guest speakers, video links and emailed messages are from the ones we could capture. Ron and Joan, this is your life. Our first guest speaker is from Katikati Open Air Art, Steve Graveson.
Good choice, huh?
Jackie's been to escort.
Steve, Jackie, can you escort him up, please?
I can't find anyone. Can I then say, Paula, if I can't find you on my run sheet where you're sitting, wave.
Okay, did everyone hear that? If you're speaking, put your hand up. You've got your run sheet so Jackie can see you.
Oh, I must say, you've got lots of friends. Was it just going to be a quiet afternoon tea? Was it? Yeah. For those of you, like Paula said, I'm Stephen Graveson. I'm president of Katikati Open Air Art and also the project manager for Katikati Open Air Art. And it's an honour to come along today to recognise the contribution that this fine couple have given to our community over a number of years. And thank you very much. I know with Ron, with Open Air Art, it's been through the men's shed, making birdhouses and toy boxes and signage and stuff like that. But I've had a very special relationship with Joan over a number of years, because with Open Air Art, when we do a project, and we always make sure that we, whatever we display or create is correct. And that's, so we have to have the right image. And so my first port of call was always to go and see Joan at the archives. And pretty much all the time, she's usually a source of much knowledge and information. But there have been a couple of occasions we have struggled a little bit, and off the top of my head was one that we recently did called Grassroots, which was a mural about the dairy factory. And I went to Joan thinking we'd have a whole font of information, but there was hardly anything. And one of the things that Joan always said, I'm quite happy to share my information with you, but if you get anything, Stephen, you have to share it back. And did that, and in the end we got quite a bit of information, didn't we? The other thing that Joan has been special with me is that I've had the privilege of writing 4 or 5 books, and I'm sure we're going to hear about it this afternoon, but Joan's got that way of critiquing the English language, which I am shocking at. So when I do my manuscript, take it along to Joan, and she goes through it and puts in all the punctuation and all the spelling mistakes are corrected. So thank you, Joan. Thank you, Ron, for everything you've done for our community. It's been a privilege, and all the best for the rest of this afternoon. I'm sure we're going to have some interesting stories. Thank you.
Next we have Uretara History Management, Sue Morris and Laurie Donald.
I'm hoping this is on. Good afternoon, and it's great to see such a wonderful turnout of friends and family and people that Joan and Ron have been involved with. I'm very proud to be speaking on behalf of the Uretara History Managers, and particularly about 2 very special volunteers and committee members that we've had. UEM, just as a little background, is an environmental group that has been going in Katikati since 2005. Ron's involvement was when, this is a little bit of background, was with his involvement with our group came about when the newly formed Wildlife Recovery Group was initiated in December 2004. And Ron's concerns were for the siltation and the spread of mangroves in the harbour across the Uretara estuary in particular. And Ron has and is still very passionate about the clean, open and sandy and the plentiful kaimoana that was in the estuary when he was a young boy. That was his playground, and his concern was regards its changing nature. So after the Wildlife Recovery Group had a public meeting, UEM was formed in 2005, and it was as people increased their knowledge and our perspective broadened that we became a group focused on the hills to sea approach of catchment management, and this including fencing and planting of streams, reclaiming wetlands, planting of natives on the estuary edges, pest and weed control, and maintaining open access to areas within the harbour. Ron and Joan have been champions of all such works, and their involvement includes Ron taking on the role of treasurer for 11 years, hosting countless meetings at their home, and Ron's handymanness, I have to say that quite slowly. I'm not sure whether Joan has a to-do list for Ron at home. I certainly have one for Alan on the fridge. Every now and again I point it out to him. But Ron certainly got through a lot of handyman jobs for us, for our group, UEM. And that include working with Robert Noble to build our shade and plastic houses at Radius Lexham Park in 2009. That's where our nursery is based. Building 2 notice boards along the Uretara walkway, and creating a walk bridge in conjunction with Pakiki lines that spanned a small wetland on the Uretara Reserve. And not only that, storing and maintaining 4 scrub bars and all associated gears for our work out in the estuary. And in fact, Ron came up with a modification on the blades. I think it was your idea that made them more fit for purpose and gave them better longevity out there in the estuary. Now, Joan, although not a committee member, came to her own as a volunteer, gathering around her a group of willing ladies who became treasures, really, with their wonderful skills of home baking. And as Andrew Jenks once said, he's a long-standing member of our group, keeping volunteers happy and ensuring their continued support is paramount for any organisation, and it's true. for our group. And I can guarantee that after a UEM working bee, whether it was on the top of the hill, on the side of a stream, on the estuary reserve, or even actually in a functioning cowshed a couple of times, that Joan and her many band of volunteers were wholly responsible for the 100% smiling faces at the end of those working bees, providing endless cups of hot drink and tea, coffee, cold drink in the summertime, and also a vast array of delectable home baking. Just a joy. Joan and her helpers' hospitality and their military precision for these events was legendary. And Joan also has provided immense assistance with our group, with her knowledge and involvement in the Katikati archives. Ron and Joan, you lead by example, and with that, it's a come on, let's get it done approach, and not a wait and see approach. You are quiet achievers with no accolades required. You are always positive, engaging, show great willingness, and are interested in what's around you and people that are around you. So thank you, Ron and Joan, for being part of the heart and soul that makes our community it is. And for this, and for you both, we give our heartfelt gratitude and our sincere thanks for all you've done. Thank you.
Next we have Branch 43 Amateur Radio Club, Maxine Charret, Greg Page and Digby Turner.
Our speaker today is Maxine, Club President, Club Secretary Digby and Graham.
Joan and Ron. Where do I start? You joined Branch 43, I believe, about 56, 7, 58.
Can't hear.
I believe you joined our Branch 43 about 1957, 58. Those are the dates I got from our good club member here, Graham. I'm not sure what your first call sign was, but I know you went under the call sign Z01RS for a long time. And the guy that had the call sign Z01RB was actually, his initials was RS, and you wanted the RB call sign. You did get it eventually. On behalf of Branch 43, our amateur radio club, I'd like to thank Katikati for organising the afternoon tea, for such a wonderful, wonderful couple who have given their all for any club they've been involved in. You obtained your radio licence while working in ACRAD in the purchasing department. Oh, Prentice originally. Sorry, Ron. It's what I've been reading in the minutes. You became known as RB after changing from RS, which was Ron Skinner, who was factory manager.
George Skinner was the one who had one RS.
Oh, was it? Oh, okay. I read Ron in the minutes. It was Ron. Over a number of years, you've held several positions on the committee of Branch 43, including being part of the AREC group, the Emergency Communications Group, and took an active part in all competitions, and you helped set up the AREC trailer at Waihi, I believe. You were one of the main instigators of getting that emergency trailer in Digby. We have some photos which we will pass to Ron and Joan to have a look at shortly. In Branch 43, Ron has actually held the position of chairman 3 times for a total of just on 10 years. I certainly don't want to take it for another 2 years to match your record, Ron. You are also active in starting the Waihi junk sales, thanks to your work at ACRAT.
And the guy beside you.
Yeah, and Graham. You arranged to get all the surplus parts and made up $5 mystery bags. And he's got some tales to tell about making those up, and conveyor belts. And the ham operators came from near and wide, or near and far, to take part in that sale, just to get a $5 junk bag. But it wasn't only Ron that took part in this club. Joan, you have been marvellous. At those junk sales, you worked non-stop in the kitchen, I believe, for many, many years. And even now today, you still take part in any lunches or meal in get-togethers that we have with afternoon teas, etc. You're always providing us some beautiful food. Wish I could cook as well as you. And at our last Christmas meeting, Joan actually did a beautiful salad, I think it was, from memory, that she bought. Absolutely delicious. So thank you too, because you've played such a major part in our club. You have helped, supported, given lots of advice to a new president. He's now on it for the 8th year. As I said, I'm not going to match your record. And And 2 years ago, our club turned 70 years old. And the first person to speak up and say, Maxine, I've got lists of names of members past and present, and you talk to Graham as well, because I know he has. And sure enough, every time I rang Ron, he came up with more and more and more advice, names, contacts, even contacting people on my behalf to organise a reunion for several, how many? About 80 members, I think, we sent invitations out to, so I was stoked. And the last position you took in our club was in 2004, when you became patron. It was an awesome reward for an awesome couple who were never shy of offering help, support, advice. And from our branch of branch 43, we owe you both a massive thank you so much.
Now we have a Katikati genealogy group, Margaret McClymont and Jeanette Shepherd. And Bronwyn Sutherland.
And Ron, it's a privilege to be here to help honour you today, and we would like to just share a little bit of your involvement with genealogy. As a newcomer to Katikati in 2007, I attended the first meeting of the genealogy interest group, and there I met lovely Joan, who has been such a help to all newcomers in the genealogy world. And you have been a stalwart of the club all these years, and also during our time of friendship I found that we also shared a love of music, and so we do honour you with your genealogy interest and also your knowledge. It has been just tremendous, and I thank you, Ron, for backing Joan and looking after her. So thank you both, and it has been a privilege. Yes, thank you.
Now we have one of the first emails from Mike Pettit, Waikiki Beach Primary School, when Joan was teaching there. I remember Joan as the most kind-hearted individual with the warmest heart and absolute passion for improving children's reading through her Rainbow Reading program in particular. She loved and cherished each child she worked with and ran the most wonderful reading and literacy programs. Joan always had a glint in her eye and batted well and hard to ensure resourcing for additional reading resources for the programs she ran. I do not ever remember saying no to Joan. Joan, your send-off on your last day at Waikiki Beach School was a true reflection of the impact you made on the children, and also the huge amount of staff you worked with over your years there. The hall was filled with people, young and old, both past and present, with so many kind things to say. It was a rememberable and fitting way for you to finish your time at school. Your legacy for the hundreds of children you helped over the years will always remain. The difference you made to each of those children would have given many of them the chance to enjoy a successful education because they learnt to read and therefore access the whole curriculum. You made a true difference to people's lives, and for that, Joan, you should be proud. I am thinking of you on this special day and will always remember our conversations fondly. You are a very special lady. Kindest regard, Mike Pettit. And next we have up Katikati Men's Shed, Mike Cuthbert, Roger Sexton, Bruce Shepherd, Michael Cox, Steve Raymond.
Now, can everyone hear that? Yep. I've turned on, good. Thank you, Katikati, and those people that worked towards putting this afternoon together. I don't speak a lot, usually. And you'll have to excuse me a little if I can't say too much in Joan's favour. I know her, I don't disfavour. But I don't know her as well as I've known Ron. So, but I do know what some of her actions have been within the community. I didn't know Ron very well before the men's shed started, which happened to be in the old museum, a place where we had no rent to pay. We had a room there which, if we had more than 6 staff, some had to work out on the veranda, and tools like we have now were not then available. In the early days, we didn't see a heck of a lot of Ron there. He was out fixing up someone's orchard for them. But as time went on, he became more and more often. And I'm very thankful that at the time when the museum was sold, the old museum, and we found an alternative place, that Ron was there, because it was a big job. It was a big job to set up. And I've got to say that Ron played a major part in that, with the help of some others. We all in life make mistakes sometimes. And if I can say this, I'll say it now early, because Ron takes on huge, great jobs in there which I wouldn't dare to. And occasionally, well, one stage he made a mistake. The people from Claymark Mill asked Ron to make a wall of pigeonholes, not for pigeons, basically tubed up recesses so the staff could put their goodies in when they're at work, and probably their lunch. Well, he did a marvellous job. This great big panel with all these pigeonholes, beautiful clean pine, and ended up being sprayed with a varnish and a rebuke, and they trotted off down there to put it in. Lo and behold, the doorways are only about 6'6" high.
Wouldn't even go diagonally.
There you are. He's admitting it now. There was a bit of cutting off a couple of levels. They stood it through and put those couple of levels back on. And whilst I haven't seen it since, I'm sure they've done a marvellous job. Ron, we're not all infallible. Only sometimes. The big jobs have been taken on. Sometimes they were the tables and stools that fit around the town. We sold a whole truckload of them. So they were quite big ones with 6 people and 2 stools each side. There was also a large table that can be seen when you're driving down into a Mokoroa in their park. The slab of the table was so heavy and so thick, it took about 4 people to lift it. But it hasn't sunk into the ground yet, so all's well. As I say, I'm not going to speak any longer. That's about my lot. But at this point, I would like to say that, Ron, we need you in the men's shed. Stick with it. We need you in the community. Stick with it a bit harder. And I think that we need more of you in the country.
next up we have got Katikati Information Centre, Pat Stelzer and Kristen Crockett.
Greetings to you all, kia ora koutou katoa, and the warmest of welcomes to Joan and Ron. This afternoon it is my pleasure to stop and recall some of the significant moments in the life of the Katikati Information Centre. Integral to all the Information Centre development and events that took place over a long period of time is Joan. As you know, our Information Centre has always been staffed by enthusiastic volunteers, and from the outset, Joan reinterpreted the word volunteer. Being a volunteer is so much more than going out and lending a helping hand, and Joan has shown us that the general meaning given to the word volunteer diminishes in the face of real, human, hands-on contact. Our Information Centre depends on the impact of the interactions had with visitors and is the reason for its everyday success. Joan was always there, ready to do things for others and to make a difference in our community. She also always took the time to remind us that hard work is important. Her life skills, brought to us from her teaching background, Joan, we can thank Ardmore. Her life skills were a lesson to all who worked at the Information Centre. In fact, I would say lessons, as they were consistently visible, demonstrated by Joan's methods of organisation, her ways of finding answers, and, Joan, you're going to hear this many times this afternoon, her extraordinary proofreading skills. Even though a document passed through many hands and past many eyes, it would not be sent to final printing before it had passed by Joan's eagle eyes. We then inevitably received a revised, marked up version, despite our valiant efforts. It is recalled with gratitude that we knew the document had been in such reliable hands. Joan, there are so many words, but today I just want to say thank you on behalf of all the volunteers and all of the Western Bay of Plenty Council staff that you have crossed paths with over the years, and for giving that most precious commodity of all, your time, given with such generosity of heart and soul. Just to close, I would like to read a poem by poet Mary Oliver, who recorded life through observing nature. And here she writes about wild geese. And wild geese are symbolic of compassion, community, and caring. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile the world goes on. Meanwhile the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things. And Joan, that's where you firmly occupy a place in the family of things. Thank you so much.
St. Pius Catholic Church, Pauline Van Ryan and Bernice Gorringe. Ladies, can you stand up please so Jackie can see you?
I've got them here. Read your sheet. Shall we go? That one?
Sorry. I'll do that. Next up we have Western Bay Community Archives, Sandra Hay.
Oh, Paula. Oh, Paula.
Hello. I was told I only had 3 minutes. I'm quite pleased that they gave me a time limit because I could go on and on and on. And just listening to the stories that have been told up until this point, I am in awe of the both of you. You are an inspiration to this community and to a whole lot of people outside of this community as well. And it's a privilege to know you both. I've known Joan since 2011 when I started work at the Katikati Library. And I didn't know Ron very well. He was just that quiet and dignified gentleman who came in and collected his wife. But Joan is an outstanding archivist. As an archivist, I'm going to read a few words because I only have a little bit of time. But Joan is dedicated, passionate, and precise. She is organised, particular, neat, and fantastically knowledgeable. The perfect archivist. Joan is a teacher and monitor of all emails, notes, letters written by me. Never has a computer had a better spell checker. Joan is the best of the best. She's the best at formatting, document layout, paragraph layout, grammar checking, all those things. Joan, as a researcher's guide, Joan did a lot of helping of customers who came in. They'd come in seeking information. They might have connections with families in the area, and she was unendingly helpful, generous, kind, with a deep well of this lovely wry humour and beautiful laugh that you would hear rippling through the library every now and again. Joan as a person, as my friend, you are inspiring. You are the wearer of beautiful earrings. I have to say, your jewellery is beautiful. What happened? You are modest, you are humble, you are spiritual, and you are beautiful inside and out. And it's just lovely to know you. Thank you.
Okay, this time I've got the Catholic Church ladies. I'm sorry, there's a bit of a joke about that because I work closely with Joan and we all know she's a very strict Catholic. I'm a Catholic as well, was raised as one. And Joan always makes sure that we don't say the G word. So that's why I got stuck on the Catholic ladies. So if we could have the two ladies from St. Pius Catholic Church, Pauline Van Ryan and Bernice Gorringe.
Bernice and I are delighted to have been asked to speak this afternoon. Ron and Joan, the Catholic faith has always been central to your lives. Your formation surely began when you were very young. Joan, your gift of music was fostered. You learned the piano, and your musical talent would no doubt have been encouraged through a gift of a piano accordion by your grandfather. And Ron, your mother Eve, being an active parishioner here in Katikati, would have encouraged you, and you were an altar boy. Perhaps a highlight for you would have been in the early 1950s, when the bishop came to bless and open the first new Catholic church in Fairview Road. You have both participated in parish life wherever you have lived. Joan, you played the organ in Waihi Beach and in Whangamata. And since your return to Katikati in 2003, you have continued to play the organ and accompany singers regularly. You have also assisted with the planning of weekly music for our Mass. You've kept us on track regarding the copyright. And you've prepared PowerPoint presentations for our Mass hymns and responses. Alongside these weekly duties, you have also sorted through endless articles and photographs of parish history, providing us with a well-researched, catalogued and filed archives for future reference.
Your return to Katikati couldn't have been timed better. It was just when our parish was in the early stages of planning to build our new church on Beach Road. You were both great supporters and workers with the many fundraising activities, but perhaps in particular with our annual Monster Book Sale and the monthly Frickers Friday meals. But what calls for special mention here was your involvement, Ron, in the actual building process of the new church. As chairman of the building committee, you displayed diligence, patience, and a never-failing commitment, right through to the hanging of various artworks and fixtures and the ongoing repairs and maintenance. Ron and Joan, you are the epitome of the love between a husband and wife, of unconditional love for family, and of a deep love of your God and Saviour. And it's an absolute privilege to be here on behalf of our Catholic Church, Katikati, this afternoon. Thank you.
I now have 2 email messages. First being from Roger Wills, Las Vegas, USA. Thank you for your email, and I wish Ron and Joan a very enjoyable afternoon. Please give them my regards. The second one is from Janet Planet. Unfortunately, I can't be at the celebration of the Boggisses. I would love to have been there. Those two are exceptionally community-minded, sadly a dying breed. I so appreciate their heart and spirit and what they have contributed so much to this community. Please add my comments to any list of absentee admirers that you give them. Kindest regards, Janet Planet. Then we have Model Flying Club, Don Mossop.
Thank you. Joan and Ron, guests, it's my pleasure to honour the contributions that Ron has made to model flying in our area. I'm sure as a young man, Ron was fascinated by flying things and flying machines. And he was of a generation when growing up, he was still young enough to capture the imagination of young men. And if you wanted to build a plane, well, you had to learn how to do it. You didn't buy it out of a box from Hong Kong. Ron's a long-standing member of the, was a member of the Tauranga Model Aircraft Club. About 8 years ago, that club decided to move up into the hills. For many of us, especially those living in the Bay of Plenty, this end of it, just way too far to move. So we set up our own club, the Western Bay Model Flyers. And you can see on that top left a group of old men sitting outside or standing outside the public toilets at Maramatinga Park with a bunch of aeroplanes. And if you look hard to the top there, there's a yellow Piper Cup. That's Ron's beloved Piper J3 Cup. And next to him a couple of, Ron and me, I think, about to fly his model, and there he goes. The Western Bay Model Flyers Club has benefited hugely from Ron's involvement. He's got a magnificent electronic knowledge and problem-solving skills, willingness to put his hand up and do things that others wouldn't, and continues to serve on the executive and as our treasurer. So Ron, many, many thanks for that. I have a number of stories to tell, but most of them end up in blood and gore or planes and pieces on the ground. But there is one that I'm happy to share with you all. The others I'm happy to share over afternoon tea. Ron and I used to go down to the National Flying Champs at Katikati each year in their bus. And on our return one year, Joan was tidying up the bus and she came upon a pair of women's underwear. Now, there was a fair degree of consternation about this, and they clearly weren't Ron's, and they certainly weren't mine. But anyway, Joan seemed to accept readily enough that they probably belonged to a open-air art, or sorry, a twilight concert performer who used their bus as a dressing room. Ron, I have a card here signed by all members of the club, and with all their warmest regards and best wishes for today.
And now we have Waihi Rotary, Selwyn and Dorothy Baker.
Good afternoon, folks. My name is Sel Baker and I come from Waihi. My association with the Boggisses, I say the Boggisses because where did I go? Say again. Try it again. My name is Sel Baker from Waihi, and I'd like to speak a few words of my involvement with the Boggisses. I say the Boggisses because they're a team. They should be recognised as a team. We certainly did. So to Joan and Ron, we appreciate your joint effort in all things good you've done. I speak on behalf of the ex-members of the Waihi Rotary Club, and that's been quite challenging. And so there's a few members here today, so we'd like to thank them for coming, and also acknowledge the input that Ron has had in the Waihi Rotary Club when he was a member there. All sorts of things happen. People join clubs, especially a Rotary Club or service club for some reason or other, because of the social status that comes with it. And then there's others who join the club because they want to make a contribution to the town or community, as well as the getting the bit of from the service club. And so this is what happens, and this has certainly been the case with Ron and his wife, both of them coming to the Waihi Rugby Club. We benefited from their input, no doubt, a great deal. Ron's contribution extended, we've heard all about here, but when they lived in Waihi, his contribution there was quite immense. And in Rotary Club we enjoyed having him there, and the different roles he played in that particular club. So we say thank you, Ron, for your input, especially for Ron in this, and his input not only for the club but for the town. Because the Rotary Club, all Rotary clubs contribute greatly to the town, and so Ron was in a way there bidding not only for himself but for the club and the town, and we appreciate that, Ron. So thank you very much, and we appreciate and we wish you all the best.
And next we have Katikati Pakiki Lions, Ron and Glenn Crawford, and Inez Cooper.
Good afternoon, my name is Ron Crawford. I'm a Pakeki Lion for 31 years. That's why I'm here, really. Ron, you joined, as you know, you joined Lions in June 2004. Over the period of time since then, we've been often referred to as the two Ronnies. I doubt if we'll ever emulate those two great comedians, but all we will ever put on that famous skit of theirs, the Four Candles. I don't know if anybody's ever seen that. In the 15 years you've been a Lion, you have you've had a remarkable record, really. You've held every, I think every, you've been chaired of every post in every committee in the club. You have been vice president, second vice president. You were president in 2009, and again you were re-elected in 2014. I think one of your biggest accomplishments was when you and Joan started the scallop tent or scallop stall at the Fun Fest. That was a very popular eating place, and actually, you know, a year or so ago, when the price of scallops got so high that the project was no longer viable, actually I was not unpleased about that, because it's the hardest 2 hours work I did all day, was cooking there in that tent, and I don't know how you two guys did it for 8 hours, just beyond me. You were also involved in the hanging baskets, and that's a testament to you, because I'm talking to you, Ron. I know Joan was involved heavily too, but the hanging baskets are a pleasure for the community and all the visitors to this place. It's hard work. It's you took over from Don and Christine Wallace when they retired, and you've run the place since. And your technical ability always never ceases to amaze me, because you always seem to be able to fix things, get things running. You haven't drowned any pedestrians with the water system. You always seem to have the right equipment. I'm often wondering why Roger Stiles was so happy about living next door to you, but now I know. The other things you've been involved in is the food bank. You organise that, the food bank collection, line, Daffodil Day, Riverside Gardens, you name it, you've been there and done it, and always in a very perfect manner. Thank you. Well, the other things you've been involved in is a men's shed. You're very prominent in that. We've heard about that today. And something else. Oh yes, and you even barbecue sausages quite well. For your selfless service, you have been. You were in 2014 given the award of Outstanding Lion, and in earlier this year you were given you were recognised on an international basis. You were given the Melbourne Jones Award for service to lions, and in my way of thinking, those two awards could not have been given to a more deserving recipient. I want to thank you on again on my behalf for your friendship from the two of you. There's an old adage, behind every great man there's a greater woman, and this applies to Joan and yourself. And in that respect, I'll ask my co-speaker, Diana, to say a few words. Thank you.
Pleasure to be here. Joan and Ron, it's a pleasure to be here and sharing this with you. And as Ron says, behind every good man there's a great woman, and Joan, you've been Ron's support, his support person, his helpmate, his best friend, and his wife for more years than I care to know. So I congratulate you on your wonderful teamwork together. Now, I don't rightly know when I got to know you, Joan. I didn't really get to know you, Ron, until I joined Katikati Lions in 2011. But I think you lived here as a child, and Joan, your teaching has brought you into contact with many, many people here. So possibly your reputation preceded you. But I think I came to know you, Joan, when Ellen McCormick gave her 40 ring binders filled with newspaper cuttings and photographs and information about Katikati to the library, and it was housed in my office, the librarian's office. That was before you came along, was it? Well, anyway, there was some little hiccup about it being unavailable to the public because it was in my office. So when the office that had been the information centre came available, we set up the archives, had it properly blessed, and I think that's when you came along. And so that's when our friendship, our working together, and I was always impressed with your meticulousness. Now, Sandra has sung your praises of the work you did there. It's a passion you have for family research and genealogy, and I think it's in your blood because your sister wrote several books on how to research your family tree. We had a few hiccups along the way with personalities in pursuing the archives. Joan, you always dealt with them with your gentle personality and a smile, but it took its toll because later on, you know, you had to cope with a few emotional downs because of it. But that meticulous research and record keeping has steered you well, Joan, because in 2008, before I joined Katikati Lions, I understood you took over the bulletin for a short time. And then in 2013, you took it over again. And I'm sure most of the work in the bulletin is Joan's. Would that be right, Ron? She, I'm glad to hear that. But her meticulous record keeping and her work, we've heard how good she is at this, has kept the Katikati Lions informed of what has gone, what is coming, and what we should know about our club. Now, another thing Joan and I share is a love of music, as you've heard from Pauline and St. Pius Ladies. We both played for our various churches. I can remember sing-songs we've had as Katikati social gatherings. You were always willing to play for them, and your piano accordion. And I also remember us coming down to your house to arrange a float for the Lions Float Parade. So you've been involved in so many things. we've heard lots of things that you've been involved in. If you go to the St Pius Friday Frickers Feasts, you will always find Ron and Joan in the kitchen. Is that right? Yes. So wherever you go, you find Ron and Joan working together as a team, giving their time, their energy and their passion. They are examples to us all of what community is. And I leave you my love and the richest blessings for your continued joy of life together. Thank you.
And next we have friend and neighbour, Roger and Joan Stiles.
No warning at all. You kept that pretty quiet, didn't
I didn't really know Ron until he started literally building a house up above us. My wife's name is also Joan, so some differentiation had to be made. There's Joan up the hill and Joan down below. Ron Crawford's quite right. It's very convenient living next to Ron. He's always got the right size screw, nut or bolt. And that's probably the need why I initially became friends, because I needed that involved. We heard from Don Mossop about the aircraft business. It didn't always run smoothly because Ron did a test flight of a gift helicopter in the lounge one Christmas, and it crashed into an expensive lampshade. So that was Ron, I suggested to Ron when he finished building his house that perhaps he came along to Katikati. Well, actually, I insisted really. And so they've been great members of that organisation over the years, as you've heard. When I owned an orchard for a while, and when PSA struck, we had to cut off the leaders and the trunks, and we needed to burn them and so on, and Ron came and helped. Now, he's a bit of a hidden arsonist, Ron. His help was commendable, but it cost a fortune in diesel. Well, we did get the job done, Ron, and it's been great and we continue to be great neighbours, and I hope that we remain so. Thank you all.
The next is an email message from Lisa Boyce, Joan Boggiss. Thank you very much for the kind invitation, but I'm afraid I will not be able to attend the surprise event. I'm sure they will appreciate this gesture, and I know it is very well deserved. I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate them on their unwavering commitment to the community, something which makes all their family proud. Kind regards, Lisa. And then we have boarding at Twickenham House and early days teaching at the Katikati Primary, Evelyn Taylor and Anne Allen.
I'd like to set the scene when just before I met Joan. Okay? Right. setting the scene before I met Joan, I arrived in Katikati in 1958 as a beginning teacher. And I really didn't know where Katikati was because I was a Tauranga girl and I had to look up at the map to see where it was. It was a little village, and as some of you realise, because you've been here for probably longer than me, there was just a strip of tar seal in the middle of Katikati, and all the other roads were metal and dust everywhere. The school was a district high school with the college and the primary school acting as one, and there always seemed to be relievers because it was just a quiet little place and people came and then went. So when the school teachers finished their training, they were posted to various schools that needed them. Hence I was posted to Katikati. Now, Joan came in 1960. It was good there because the girls that came after we were then year 3, of course, they were modern young girls. They had come with bobby socks on, and they came because it was a bobby socks era in the 1950s, and New Zealand was a wee bit behind America. And I can remember Joan and another couple of teachers wearing their bobby socks to school, and we felt so old-fashioned, you know. It was awful. But we did try to help them along. I had the next year off to go travelling, and I left Joan Miller here. And when I arrived back in 1962, which was only a year later, there was this Joan Boggiss, and something had happened in the meantime. Not yet? Next was it 63? I'm sorry. In those days, all the local boys used to look forward to the influx of new dental nurses and new teachers so that they could broaden their horizons, I would say. Do you know, in those days, there were no bank staff females. You know, it was just the teachers and the nurses, really. Anyway, it was good there. I left at the end of 63 to start my family. And when I came back later, there was no Joan. Well, I've just found out through this that she'd moved on. We reconnected later on after I retired from school, and I worked as a volunteer at the library and found Jo in the archives. So that was okay, wasn't it, Joan? Anyway, Evelyn's got some news for you from the early days.
I flattered with Joan for 2 years, and it was a fairly laid-back lifestyle, and I really appreciated Joan's help because I came from Auckland to this little place down here. I just want to say a few of the memories I have. First of all, Joan gave me some very sisterly advice when I arrived. She told me that to be very careful what I said about anyone in the district because it would soon get back because everyone was related. And also be careful what I said, we were on party lines and always someone seemed to be listening in, so you have to be extremely careful. Some of the memories I have, the first one was the party line problem. We had the station manager on our party line, and every night round about midnight, give or take an hour or so, the phone would ring, so he would go down to the station and put the train through. That did take a little bit of getting used to. And then I think I'd been there a couple of weeks, and someone arrived at the door and Joan went out, and she called out to me, and I went out, and here's this person sitting on a horse right at the entrance to the house, and I couldn't believe my eyes, and it turns out it was Ron Boggiss' brother Graham, who had come to check out the new flatmate. I know whether you remember this little incident, but I've often had a chuckle about it. Joan used to wear headgear for church, and I was Protestant and I wore hats. And one day Joan couldn't find her headgear, and so she called out to me, did I have anything? Thinking in terms of a scarf, but I didn't have any scarves, so I offered my hat. Joan scuttled back to her room, and within less than a couple of minutes, a few seconds, Joan had found something to cover her hair. I thought my hats were quite good, but obviously no one else. One other incident was, I'll tell you this, Mrs. Atkinson's sister, who was a bit more nosy than Mrs. Atkinson, especially came to visit one day, and she was there when we arrived home from work because we very seldom saw her. She had visited earlier. And I had hardly got in the door, and she very brightly spoke to me and then said, I saw you out last night at the pictures. And I said, yes. And she said, oh, you were with someone different. And so I said to her, well, yes, and with a very straight face, I said, don't you know, I actually go out with someone different every night of the week. And the look of horror on her face, she turned back and walked away. And I had to apologise to Mrs. Atkinson later. And Mrs. Atkinson's answer to me was she had no right to even mention it. Last thing, the staff parties. That seemed to be the social life in Katikati for us. And there was one specific party that we had, must have been the end of term, I think, because they had it on a Thursday night for some reason. And this night, the parties went on longer and longer, and I don't think any of the staff would have got more than an hour, 2 or 3 hours sleep at the most. And we got to school the next day, and you can imagine the whole staff not being able to stay awake with classes there. And the principal was so angry with us, he told us we were not allowed to have another party during the week. We just weren't allowed. And that was it. So that was our school days or flapping days in Katikati.
Now we have St. Joseph's School, Pyroa, Jeff Bright.
Hopefully we still look like that, John. On the nearest one. Yeah. I still feel like it anyway, so that's good. And I know you do too. Starting off actually, it's very hard for me to improve on what my fellow or ex-colleague Mike Pettit said about Joan with regard to her teaching ability and her humankind, her sort of ability to mould in with people and to get the best out of people. And I know, just thinking about it, rather than go on and tell you all the good things about her, if I can just start from the top, being a school teacher, and if I was writing a report, I'd be starting off with all the subjects down there, and it'd be pretty easy for Joan because you either work below, at, or above in each one, and normally for some people you spend a lot of time thinking about it and dwelling on it, and I think you'd agree with me if you were going down the list of subjects like maths, English, and everything, it'd be easy. You'd go to the right-hand side, which always said, if you were looking at the report, and it would say it would be below, at, or above. You go to the right-hand side and you just run down it, and it'd be fairly straightforward with Joan, because everything she did was always above the expected level of anybody. And I know we found that out. There's been lots of stories about that coming out there, and we all appreciated. I know at St. Joseph's in Pyro how hard Joan worked. Then you get down right to the bottom where it said the comments. And I think that's something else, and there's been a theme running through, and you might start off writing something like, and excuse the tenses, Joan, because they're going to move in between was and is, so I have to be a little bit careful there. It would read something like, Joan is a caring, thoughtful girl who always gets on well and works well with her colleagues or classmates. And at different times we were classmates, so as well as colleagues. But I know, adding to that, I would also add that Joan was a thorough professional in the teaching world, and I know that's come out now in the rest of her world as well. Pretty hard to improve, but Joan, thank you for your time at school. It was fantastic. Now, we know that Joan and Ron love each other, and quite often what Joan would do would come to school and tell us about Ron's little achievements, whether it was through setting up the business, and then of course he handed that on to Paul, which was good, fantastic. But also the other little things that Ron did. One example was Joan came along and she was, 100% sort of doing cartwheels. She was so happy because Ron had achieved, I think, the best time in the time trial, cycling time trial one time. He won't remember that, but we did. And Joan was very proud of that. I think you set off on a handicap and still end up with a good time. It was your best time anyway. So that was good. So all those small things, I think, relate to the person. Now the other good thing here, looking, I'm not sure if you can see it. Yes, it stands out actually. In both photos there. The one on the 1990 side, that was my first year at St. Joe's in Pyro. What had happened was, as usual, I'd forgotten that it was school photo day. The only thing that reminded me was that when Joan got to school, the interesting thing, the interesting change, or it still adds up to her persona now, was that she came along dressed up. Not just for school, but she would wear jewellery and make sure everything was just right for the photos. And I'm not sure whether she made sure that she got her own photo taken as well, like the kids did, the individual ones, and maybe the kids got that as a Christmas present. I'm not sure, you know, those little ones. But as usual, I turned up just ready for action anyway, just with a t-shirt and jersey on, and didn't quite sort of cut the mustard on that one anyway. I learned, but the year after that, I still forgot, and Joan turned up looking again, and you walk in and you think, oh no, darn, it's happened again. But anyway, that's just the persona of Joan, and we all loved it and appreciated her. But, it was good. But like every super man or superwoman, Joan, you'd appreciate this, we all have our kryptonite. And one of which in Joan's life at St. Joe's was a boy called Liam Casey, who was, he was a wee bit different, wee bit difficult to handle. And Joan, believe it or not, I met him not so long ago, and he hasn't changed. He works as a rumble officer for New Zealand Customs, and it suits him down to the ground. Yeah, just so Joan, great day today, and it's fantastic seeing how much you've been appreciated by the community.
And next we have from Waihi Archives and great friend and old neighbour, Doreen McLeod.
Well, I could say heaps.
We
But these boys know, these Boggiss boys know. I'm actually a Boggiss. Well, almost. Having been Joan and Ron's neighbour for many, many years, while our children were growing up, my God, I was lucky. I was so lucky. You know, I went through some pretty difficult times, and they were always there for me. But I'm going to talk about some of the achievements that Joan and I and Ron and I did over the years. Look, everyone said everything good about them. I'll continue. Joan and Ron lived through the back fence, and you know, Ron could fix my motor mower. You know how you come home and you're ready to get your lawns done, and the cord pulls out, and that's the end of that. Trotted around to Ron, and he could fix it. But I decided I could do it myself. So I took it all to bits. I'd seen what he did, and you put this in kerosene and you do that. I put it all together, and it went for a little while. And when I took it back round to Ron, when it broke down again, he said, "There's a spring missing." I never even saw a spring. Ron also helped me wallpaper some of my rooms in my home. It was a 1905 home with 11-foot stud. I'm short. We managed to get it done though. It was great. Now, I'm going to say heaps about Joan. I'll just talk about Ron at the moment. Ron and I were ambulance officers together. Ron was the driver and I was the nurse. And boy, we could be out in an emergency like that, being neighbours. And so off we'd go, and you never knew what you were going to find. But you know, it's so good to have Joan and Ron for a neighbour, because we could sort of talk about two young fellas who squashed on the road, you know, off their motorbikes, and sort of, we didn't need counselling. We had each other, we had Joan, and so we could just bounce off each other, couldn't we? I was at Joan and Ron's on Monday, and we even talked about some of our patients. So you don't forget those sort of situations either. Joan, such an accomplished pianist, and she accompanied me many times for when I was singing at different organisations, and you know how she's good at punctuation and grammar and all that stuff. You've got to sing it right as well. Got to breathe in the right places. Now, also, I was the wardrobe mistress for drama, and you know, you're always trying to rope people in, and they see me coming and want to run, but Joan never ran. She helped me, and she made so many net petticoats for when we did Merry Widow. The costume for that was very exciting. And you know, Joan, they're still using them. I went to a show recently, and there were some of our costumes, so I felt proud for Joan and I. Now, after the arrival of their first child, Colin, Joan became involved in Play Centre, and I was very involved with the Waihi Play Centre. And Joan worked through, she commenced her training. She holds a supervisor, a national supervisor, and liaison officer certificates. And her skills as a teacher came really to the fore, because she became education officer for Waihi, and also for the Thames Valley Coromandel Play Centre Association, and also a liaison officer for Thames Valley Coromandel Play Centre as well. I was a librarian for 11 years for that association, and Joan and I spent countless hours binding, cataloguing books. It was an absolute nightmare, actually. Don't you reckon, Joan? But we didn't really enjoy it. We enjoyed each other's company, afternoon tea and some nice cookies. Joan's a life member of the Waihi Play Centre and the Thames Valley Coromandel Play Centre Association. And then one day,
I'm very interested in archives as well, and I said to Joan, would you like to assist me at the Waihi Art Centre Museum archiving these photographs? There were boxes and boxes and I don't know how many boxes, full of rat droppings, mice droppings, silverfish, rubbish, old newspapers, and Joan and I catalogued them. Now, of course, Waihi being a mining town, many of these photographs were about mining. Luckily, I have that interest, and so a lot of the old miners were still around, and I'd go and see them and say, do you know who this is? They give you a life story about that guy, you know, like he was well hung when they went to the showers together. I mean, who wants to know that? Particularly when they talk about your father. So they'd always give you a bit of, you know, who she left him or he left her or whatever. So you have to listen to all that to find out what you're trying to find out, you know. And you find it out and put down just what you need. So Joan helped me with that for many years. And then she became on the museum committee and was secretary. And we've been doing a lot of archives at the museum at the present time. And for writing, when Joan's secretary can read every word. We don't have to decipher anything. It's all there. Now the other thing, I knew Joan's parents, and her dad was a bit scary, but somehow or rather he seemed to like me, and he would bring me down vegetables and that from Auckland, and I really appreciated them being a solo mum. You know, it wasn't easy. Joan and Ron even paid my registration for my motor scooter so I could zoom around and clean people's houses. Thank you for that. I love zooming around with my fur coat on. The other thing with Joan, I mean, she taught my daughter Tania, and my daughter Tania is a free spirit. She's now 50. She's still a free spirit. And she loved horses and had her horse Toro. And she'd gazing out the window at St. Joseph's Catholic School. Joan would tell her to go out and have a gallop. And she'd gallop around the playground, then come back in and get into her work again. Or did she, Joan? She did? Oh, okay. I'm glad to hear it. I also knew Ron's mum. She did exquisite crochet work, and she was a bit scary, Ron. But, you know, it's just great having, and that's why I say I'm a Boggiss. Because the Boggiss boys spent a lot of time at my house. We're a bit of a free spirit family. And so, yeah, they came around quite a lot. I won't talk about the one that smoked on the way and had peppermints when he got to my place. I'm just looking in his direction. Shh. The other thing we did, we were so proud of our bottling skills. We would order our fruit from the Hawke's Bay, we'd come up on the train, Joan would go down to the railway station, we'd pick it up, and we'd bottle, and then we'd be stand in front of our pantries and look at all our bottled fruit. Did you enjoy the bottled fruit, Ron? Good. Glad to see it. It's great to see so many people here. I was blown away. I couldn't find a park. And I thought, oh, I'm here in plenty of time. So it just shows you how much Joan and Ron have done for both communities. And their skills are amazing. They were wonderful neighbours, and I'm proud to be a Boggiss. He tried to trip me up.
And now we have the Friday night Catholic Church dinners. Kevin Fricker and Joanna Fricker.
Good afternoon, everyone. I see the guys are giving us a punt already. We've had two speakers steal our thunder. about 10 years ago, we were tasked to try and do something for the community. So we came up with the idea of fundraising and cooking at the same time, something that we both enjoy doing. And we started off, for the very first time, Graham and myself prepared the meals, set the tables out, tried to wash all the dishes and do everything, and realized this wasn't sustainable. And called for help, and Ron and Joan stepped forward, and they've been with us ever since. Joan was fantastic at the front door, arranging for the seating, taking the money, and I didn't realize that she was involved in archiving, and that's why she did so well. She actually could decipher everyone's handwriting on the list and knew most of the people in the community, so she actually knew who was who, and that actually went very well. And Ron took over the task of setting up tables, arranging chairs, fixing tables that broke, fixing chairs that broke, helping in the bar. We wouldn't have been able to do what we do once a month, and we've managed to do it for the last 10 years, thanks to Joan and Ron. They've also stepped in when we went away, one of the first Fridays of the month. We couldn't do the meal, and they stepped up and did the meal, which was fantastic. No one else put their hands up except for them. So, stay around a bit longer.
And an email message from Neil and Jeanette. Dear Sister Joan and good man Ron, it's been such a long time knowing you. Joan all my life, and Ron from our younger years. So many memories of time shared, and they were nearly all good out there in the wide world. We're all old now, and like you, can reflect on life well lived. There is not much left to do, but carry on as best we can. We are sorry to be so far away, and are thinking of you as your peers honour you. All our love, Neil and Jeanette. And just before the next speaker, who is from Pi, Barry Babbage, we have a video that Barry would like to be played first.
A low-lying barrier of broken hill country forms the backbone of the Coromandel Peninsula. A rugged area of scrub and bush, a land of gorge and urgent waters. In 1852, gold was discovered in this remote corner of the North Island. The miners came. Around their claims they built their shanty towns, like Waitakauri, Karangahake, Thames and Tokatea. To the richest strike of all, the fabulous Martha mine, which yielded 25 million pounds of gold to bring fame and wealth to Waihi. But now the stamps are silent, the mine shafts closed and abandoned. Forgotten machinery dons its coat of rust as nature returns to heal the scarred earth. The miners have gone. Gone too the pay for working hands. Waihi, the last of the gold towns, faced by possible extinction, turns to new industries. In the factories, old hands learn new skills. The nimble fingers of youth find ready employment in the many delicate tasks of the radio industry, helping to solve the town's labour problems and building a new future for Waihi. Made here is the popular transistor portable. Its lightweight and neat dimensions made possible by replacing bulky valves with tiny transistors. The research section keeps abreast of new techniques developed in the electronics field, developing compact transmitting and receiving sets for ships, lighthouses, wayback stations, taxis and town contractors, bridging the distances of mountain and sea, time and tar seal. From the impersonal equipment of the business world to something more intimate for the home, skilled craftsmen produce it all here. Today, with the arrival of television and reality, a newcomer joins the established production lines on the factory floor. Along with the radio industry, other trades have expanded, creating work and opportunity for the people of Waihi. Among these is a firm of joiners engaged in furniture making. Another firm dealing in metal specializes in ironing boards, electric fences, battery chargers, bread cutters and the like, covering a wide range of activity. The new high school for both boys and girls is a sign of faith in the future. With the gold boom days only a memory now, the old-timers who built this town with their labors can remain assured that their efforts will not be wasted. Waihi looks ahead and the past looks to the future with mature confidence.
Education, going back to school, it'd be about 1952, I think. It would be on the primary side, and then across to the high school for finish up our school years, right? Yeah. We got it all right? A bit closer. Make it a bit louder. See, can everyone hear all right? Yeah. Okay, that's good. Well, it's a privilege really to be able to share with Ron and Joan and their life like this, and it's just amazing how many people have turned up, and you've all done very well to come and give that support. I think that's marvellous. Turn the card over and read the right side first. So, I remember Ron from 1956 when he began his apprenticeship at what was called Accurate Radio Corporation in those days in Waihi. Later on, of course, in the 60s, it became biomanufacturing. But this goes right back to 1956, and I think you started in 56. You remember that? That be right? Yeah. Well, I started a little bit later in the year, because I got sick of school and decided to get out of it. And I'd heard about this marvellous radio factory that was doing all sorts of good things. We've had some good reports from people who'd gone up there. But in actual fact, Ron was one of the first sort of main people of a whole run of apprentices which began around about that time, 1956. So Ron sort of paved the way, really. Did you know that? He agrees with that. That's good, yeah. So the day I arrived up there, we all boarded at a dairy factory hospital in Ford Road. And the day I arrived there, on the evening it was, Ron came out and greeted me, somewhere in the middle of that, and said, hey, why don't we jump on my motorbike and we go up the end of the Ford Road and see if we can shoot a rabbit. Do you remember that? Yeah, good, you remember it. So, but I don't think we got a rabbit that night. I don't think we did. In a way, it's a jolly shame because we could have had that on the menu, because the menu was very boring at the hospital, because we got fed polonies just about every night, and I'm serious, every day for at least a year, if not it went on more years than that, I think. Anyway, enough of that.
That was lunch and sausage.
Yeah, lunch and sausage, yeah. But particularly the polonies. Anyway, we won't venture down that. So Ron began his apprenticeship there, and in those days we were manufacturing radios there, a lot of small radios, plus some radiograms came along, and they're all valves, all glass valves, miniature type valves that we used in those days. And I knew nothing much about that sort of thing. I could turn the knob on and switch it on, and found another knob over the other side which tuned in a different station, which was marvellous. And that's about all I knew. But Ron was in a better situation because he had a hobby of radio, hadn't you? You were into hobbies with your radio, and he was doing very well, and he was very helpful. So he was quite a leader, really, in and in this dairy factory hospital. We finished up having apprentices everywhere. We must have had, I think, at the peak time in the later 50s, probably 10 or 12 there, probably at least that many. And so we were encouraged by the management to build our own radios. And I thought, well, this sounds a good idea. They didn't like us to build one that was going through the production line. So I got all very clever, and I got this chassis made in the machine shop. I did some of it myself. And I painted it a beautiful bright blue. It looked great. But then I built the radio on it. And finally came the day to turn this thing on. Well, I stood back from it, sort of turned the power switch on, and sort of made for the door, you know, because sometimes things would explode or catch on fire. It wasn't. There was a bit of a humming noise, and the valves were blowing, but no reception. Turned the volume up, didn't do anything. I had a look around, couldn't see anything wrong. So what did I do? Trotted down the passage, knocked on Ron's door and said, Ron, hey, come on, you know more about this sort of stuff than I do. And do you remember that?
I think he's very
Yeah, he remembers. How about that? That's pretty good. So he came and had a look at this radio. It didn't take him too long, and we found something. He put his meter on there and found a voltage missing on one of the pins or something. And we sorted it out. He sorted it out. And away it went. Great excitement, yeah. So that Ron got a name for that. So, you know, if anyone was, other apprentices and so on were doing things like that, Ron was the boy to get to know. Because he'd had a little bit of experience in a hobby, and he was very keen on that sort of thing. So that's all good. Now, in those days, we used to go to radio classes, and there was the guy who was the production manager at the time was Ron Skinner. You've already heard that name today. He wasn't yet the factory manager, that came a bit later. And he ran these radio classes one night a week, and we'd all go along there, well most of us anyway, and gather to and learn a lot of the skills. And he was a very good teacher and knew his stuff, of course. And it's rather interesting because he goes back to World War II days when they were operating in the desert areas. I think it was the North African desert area, and he used to service radios in tanks and in trucks, a lot of the trucks that went out into the desert, and so he knew a lot. But what would happen is that we had some older guys in the classes who were there just to sort of learn. We apprentices were having to get skilled up, you see, but a lot of these older guys were just there to sort of learn a bit about radio and so on. And that worked out rather well. But what happened frequently was they'd get onto stories of what went on in the desert, not only just with trucks and servicing radios, but all the rest of the carry-on stuff. And the talk would go right off the subject of radio completely. just about for the rest of the night. So that was one of those funny things that used to happen in those days.
Very Jewish.
Yeah, very Jewish and all. Yeah, very much. Anyway, that was that. Now, what have we got next down here? There has been a good, strong organisation of apprentices and past apprentices that existed in pie manufacturing, especially in the later years, more towards the end of our friendships. Incidentally, our friendships lasted for between four and a half to 5 years usually was the typical thing, and I think that was fairly standard. Now Ron, when he finished his apprenticeship area, from what I recall, Ron, you went down into the office section, didn't you? You were involved with component purchase and so on, right? I hope I got this right. Now, this is far more strategically important than we ever realised, because in those days, some of the components weren't all that good. Some were all right, some were good, and the better brands naturally were more trustworthy, but not all of them were. So it was a kind of position that suited someone who'd done a whole apprenticeship and had a bit of skill in this sort of area, because it meant we could find out a lot of history of what's going on with these components out there from different reports and written reports and all sorts of things. So that's where Ron got into, and I think that skill was very well used in that, definitely. And after that, I think I lost touch with him. But we used to, and for instance, going back to components, in the early days of television, which was in the beginning of the 60s sort of thing, we made black and white sets, of course. A lot of trouble with some of the components. It was a real headache. It wasn't every set, but there'd be problems everywhere, particularly with capacitors. Capacitors were an issue, and the pictures scanning would get, you'd have to sometimes take a guess, or you'd measure something and cut it out and put another one in, and sure enough it fixed the problems. The other thing was transistors. Transistors were an issue. So I just want to emphasise this point of some people like Ron, who'd done an apprenticeship, knew the run of things, and using these skills to try and sort of, sort out the component line to be more reliable. So usually when you got onto Japanese components, Toshiba or something like that, you were far better off. And then some of the German stuff was also extremely good as well. So I'm just about there, guys. So that's about it. I'm trying to make sure I leave nothing out. So did you enjoy your apprenticeship? Yeah, it was great. And there was lots of variety, and we had a lot of opportunity to learn skills. There was a design lab. I think, Ron, you got involved also working in the radio telephone section. Did you servicing and so on? That was another area that not everybody went to that, because a lot of juniors wouldn't quite have enough sort of know-how to get into that. But people like Ron got into there. I never actually got into that particular section myself, actually. So well done. Message to say that Ron's time at Acro Radio and pie manufacturing would be well recognised by all the hierarchy of the companies, and if they were here today, they're all passed by now, they would back that up and say that Ron was always such a great example, not only as an apprentice, but in the places that he worked in the factory and so on. He was always an extremely good example. And these are not just smooth words. This is truth you're hearing. And he was very, very popular. I'll probably go on. Right. Yep, that'll be right. Good, thank you.
Okay, and just before the family comes up to speak, I'm going to speak to you about Western Bay Museum and Joan's role there. Joan is our head researcher, our historian, our grammar and spell check, our proofreader at Western Bay Museum. Joan has set our research procedures and processes to the highest standard, formatting with the utmost efficiency, which is a crucial part of working in a 21st century museum. Joan is our go-to person, as so many people have said today, about any information on the pioneers or settlers of Katikati. Joan fully understands the importance of preserving and sharing our history. Joan spots a typo a mile off, constantly checking everything, as everybody has said, and nothing would go to print without Joan reading and checking that at least 3 times. A great teacher that can't help but teach. Every exhibition change, Joan would not only research objects, but also people we focused on. Suffrage 125, Our Woman, Their Stories exhibition is our special one to remember. Joan supplied the five national women's research and stories, and then turned her detective attributes to finding out the Katikati ladies' suffragette stories. We spent hundreds of hours on that exhibition, and every weekend we worked in a frenzy, finding out all of this stuff, as Joan would call it. Well, Joan found it, I just read it. Mary Ann Murray was the superstar, a Katikati woman that came from a slave plantation in the West Indies to Katikati with the Macmillans as a free woman. We cherished every magnificent woman and every magnificent story, and that is Joan's true credit to her, is that she shares these stories, stories that have never been told or would never come out of the archives without all of her work that she does at Western Bay Museum. Joan never asks for much at the museum. Every Thursday morning, Joan has the workroom to herself, a wooden box, which I bought for her today, under the desk for her dicky knee, and with a strong black coffee filled right to the top with boiling water, we go over all of the new stuff she has found. Joan is incredibly focused on her work, and she is a true professional. So now I would like to call on the Boggiss family, and as we are running a little bit over time, I have asked all of the Boggiss families to come up. We have Paul Boggiss and his wife Kelly, their children Sarah, Jack and Flynn. We have Mark and Veronica and their children Tim and Emma. And we have Colin and Jen Boggiss and their sons Sam and Ethan. So if they would all like to come up, I think they would like to just have a few words.
Okay, I'll go first, and we're not going to go for very long, because there's been so many cool things said already, and it's pretty hard to beat that. I said to Mum and Dad yesterday, I said, you probably want to get a bit of a rest in the morning before this afternoon, because we're going to have a slightly wider sort of afternoon tea than just the immediate family. We're going to have a few extra family. And that's what we've got, extra family. And I suppose, Mum and Dad, that that's exactly what this is. This is your wider family. So I know that you'd have been pretty overcome walking in and seeing such a big crowd of people here come to honour you and the things that you've done in the community. But also as a family, we've had an exceptional pair of parents to model ourselves on and to model our families on. And so your legacy lives on. I also said to Dad this morning, I said, so Dad, we're going out this afternoon and you're probably going to have to lose that pair of jeans. We're going to a fairly flash country club for afternoon tea. And that's where we are. I think that's all I've got to say. We have a book that we've prepared, and people have put words, and some of those words have been spoken, and they're in that book. And in true Joan fashion, it's a draft book, because guess what? It needs to be proofread. So we're looking forward to her proofreading that, finalising our book, all about our lives. And I think Paula's going to mention about that shortly. So that's my lot. Thank you so much.
I'd just like to say thanks to everyone that's been a part of putting on to, shouldn't I? Thanks to everyone that's been involved in putting on today. There's been a lot of people that have spent a lot of time in getting this together, both in terms of those in the community as well as family members as well too. So it's absolutely amazing that we get to share our parents with you lot. So thanks very much from all of us.
We've got a couple of bunches of flowers here for some very special people that have done a lot of work today, and we'd like to recognise them. So, Kristen. I know Kristen's put in hours of planning for today, and been lots of emails backwards and forwards between her and me and Colin and Mark and Paula. So thank you very much. And Jackie? I think Jackie's the behind the scenes lady. We haven't had so much to do with Jackie, but I think she's done lots and lots. So thank you, Jackie. And of course, Paula.
You wouldn't believe it, but these three people have managed to organise this entire event, and I suspect without these guys actually knowing that all of the Katikati community has been talking about this.
I know, I didn't ever think that we were going to pull this off. We sent the invitations out to a top secret event, and there has been lots of conversations. A couple of times we've had meetings, and Ron has walked in, so I had my notes, I couldn't find them. So no, it's been great, and I wish to thank Kristen and Jackie, the Boggiss family, the guest speakers, and all of you for helping to make this a special event. Please take some time to leave your own message to Ron and Joan in the message book. It's just up the back here on a table. And I ask everyone to stay on, enjoy another slideshow that's been put together, and have some refreshments. The bar is open, and there is some food down here in the dining room. Ron and Joan, a big thank you to you both. This is your life.
Well, a tremendous surprise, both for myself and Joan. We came out this afternoon with the thought that we were going to some small family function with maybe one or two friends. And I can assure you, walking through that door and seeing all these people, I was moved close to tears.
I say that quite unashamedly, really. And all the stories that you've heard this afternoon, accolades that have been made and what have you, I really have got to acknowledge you people, because you are the examples that Joan and I have followed to a very large degree. Life's experiences you learn as you go along, and it's watching other people around you that we pick up skills along the way. So that's enough of that. There's been one or two things that have been said this afternoon which have jogged some memories. And first of all, I must refer to Joan. I met my lovely wife way back, 1962 or whatever it was, when she was flatting with Mrs. Atkinson. Mrs. Atkinson was previously Twickenham, and she was a very straight-laced elderly lady living on her own, and she took in these young girls as flatmates. She left a saucer on top of the sideboard containing some loose change. She knew exactly what was in it. And it was a test, I suppose, to their honesty, whether anything ever moved. But, of course, courting days, I remember on one occasion Jane saying to me, Mrs. Atkinson made the comment this morning, those guys out there must have plenty of spare change in their pocket of petrol, because those cars idle for a long period. And Barry mentioned something about our days as apprentices at the cheese factory in Waihi. It was at the time when the Katikati College was being built. I didn't have wheels at the time. I used to cadge a lift with the guy who was then the project manager, Percy Colpin, who was also sharing the hostel with us. And it was at the time of 6 o'clock closing. Thursday came round, it was payday, and it was down to the Rob Roy after work. And we'd have this circle of maybe 15 guys, and everybody was itching to have their turn at making a shout before 6 o'clock or shortly after close. So we'd arrive home a little the worse for weather. And Barry Babbage, who spoke a moment ago, Brian Skinner, were looking round the corner of the room this particular night. And eventually they came in and said, did you enjoy the soup, guys? Because everybody had eaten by the time we got home. They had laced cold tea with custard and pepper. So that was one little aside. When Joan and I came back to Katikati, I said to Joan, what are we going to do? This was after we'd moved into our new home. We've got two choices. We can sit at home and be cabbages and read books or what have you, or we could get out into the community and do something. I can only say that the crowd that I've got here tonight is a testament to what we achieved between us. So thank you one and all.
That's us. The bar's open. There's some food down there. Mix and mingle and tell a few more stories. And thank you so much for coming a long way, some of you. I know Michelle from Katikati.
The shops are shut.